Hi, Karisa Rivera.
Hi,
Nice
how
to
are you,
see you again.
Kelly?
I'm good. Yeah. I wanted to jump on a call with you because we met during Marie Forleo's B School 2019, and you joined B School via my link, Project Me, and then we got a one-on-one call together. So that is how
Yes.
you're in Florida and I'm in London, and we've already kind of met each other.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and
Yes.
you were creating a business at the time, which was about serving the Latina women's community with personal development and coaching, and that's what you're thriving in now, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Well, I remember when we had that call that you were telling me you had 6 children. Well, you were pregnant actually. You had 5 children and one on the way. He must be turning one this month.
He
Was he
just
born
turned
in
one.
June?
He
Yeah.
turned one 2 weeks ago.
I
Yes.
remember that. I
Yes.
remember that. I remember that you were due in June and you were doing B school in kind of
Yes.
April, and yeah, I was like, wow, she's really cutting it fine. And then you've got I think you've got one girl. The eldest is a girl. She must be like 14
She's
now.
14. Yes.
And then the youngest, well, he's just turned one, and then the rest are all boys, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's a full
So
house, fun house.
and what struck me was not only, well, I knew that you had 6 children because you'd mentioned that, but then it kind of came up in the conversation that you were homeschooling, and I was like, wait a minute, hang on a minute. You've got 6 children and you're homeschooling. And I remember during that call that you started telling me how it all works, and I was like, oh my goodness, I should have her on Project Me because she really understands like how to kind of organize her life and make things go with 6 children and homeschooling. And then I never got around to like inviting you to kind of come and talk. And now with lockdown and COVID, so many women are being pushed into homeschooling. They're
Yes,
suddenly having to
yes.
homeschool, and quite frankly, a lot of them are losing their minds.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
really, really going crazy with the curriculum and everything they're supposed to be doing. And especially here in the UK, I don't know, I can't speak for America as much, but here in the UK, there's all this uncertainty about when they're going to go back to school. They don't
Sure.
even know if they're going to go back in September, if they're not. So now they're getting really like head in the hands, thinking, oh my God, you mean this wasn't just for a couple of months? This
Yes.
is like, for longer.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I need to reach out to Karisa and just find out if you've got any tips, and just, yeah, I just want to ask you how you do it.
Sure, I'm happy to be here. Um, it's been a journey for us. We started homeschooling since my daughter, before even she was born. I was pregnant. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do about schooling, right? And we had options. Thank God we have options in this country. So we started, researching and reading and all that. And then we decided, let's just keep her at home so we can apply different methods. Because if I send her to school, like a Montessori school, that's the only method she gets, which is wonderful school, by the way. We love Montessori. And then I have 2 sisters. One is she's certified and she's a teacher. And then my other sister, she homeschools with the Montessori method. So we love Montessori. There's so many other methods, but then I just liked a few things of this one and that one. So I'm like, let me put together my own thing. And then at that point, we only had one daughter. And then we just started growing and growing our family. So we just added. So it's been a journey for us. But one thing that I do want to mention is that I understand, well, I don't understand um, what many women are going through worldwide, in Europe, here in America, in Latin America. They were just thrown into homeschooling in the middle of a crisis from one day to another. And I just want to mention, before I go into giving ideas and giving some encouragement, that's what I want to do here, just give some encouragement, because we've survived homeschool for many years, multiple children, multiple grades. But I just want to mention that for us homeschooling families, we've been doing this for years. We've read books. We know the podcast. We do get our encouragement. We've learned, we tweaked, and it has not been in the middle of crisis. Now, the crisis hit, and for us, it's just normal. It's just, oh, okay, we just can't go out as much. We can't go to the park. We can't meet with other people and do some classes that we were doing. We're doing that via Zoom. It's okay. Generally speaking, for us, it's okay. But I just want mothers to extend grace to themselves and say, why am I failing at this homeschool? Why can I cannot stand my children? It's okay. Just extend grace to yourself, because this is something new. You were not prepared. You were not given heads up. You were not even given resources, most likely, so you could understand, how a child learns. And I don't have a teaching degree. My degree, it's in business. I don't have a teaching degree. So you don't need to have a teaching degree. But as mothers, we know our children, and that's all it takes to know that little creature, who's developing before your very eyes. That's all it takes. So I just wanted to mention these are unusual times, and we need to understand that and put that into perspective before we start thinking or moving forward. Because if we just, think, oh, I don't know about this, then we may not be able to see other beautiful things that we can do, even if we don't have the preparation, even if this is not what we would choose, even if this is not what we really like.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Thank you for saying that, because I think it's really easy for women who to look at someone who the homeschooling community who've been doing this all along and think, oh my goodness, but you're so right that you guys made a choice like early
Yes.
on that this is what you were going to do, and you weighed up your options and you decided that's what you wanted to do. And I didn't realize that you guys had like this whole, like you were mentioning conferences, and you've got so many resources
Yes.
for other homeschooling mothers. So you've been
Yes.
building this up, like you said, with child number 1, and then it must have made it easier for all the rest. So
Oh,
you've been
yes.
easing yourself into this, and you're right. Other mothers have had this, like literally the plug pulled and homeschooling put on them without any notice and without any desire and without any, and so yeah, it's no wonder they're finding it really, really hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there are resources available still, that we can reach out to. There's certain things that we can do to just have a basic idea of what's going on. What does my child really need? What do we want as a family? What are the objectives? And so when we go through that, then it makes it easier. It lets us breathe and say, okay, it's okay. And I'm not the only mother who's going to fail my children if he doesn't, cover a subject in 1 or 2 months. It's everybody in the same boat.
Yes.
And children, or us humans, we were designed to thrive. We were designed, children, like all of us, but children have this chip of curiosity. They will figure things out. Us adults, we get stuck and we're like, I don't know what's going on. The kid, if he wants to know if something breaks, he'll break it, okay? He wants to know how it looks like broken, he'll just throw it. That's curiosity. So we need to also acknowledge that these children, our children, whether they're in, very young age or preteens or older teenagers, they're designed, their brains are designed, and they're still working in that curiosity path. So if they need to learn something, they will get into it. We as parents just need to know when to sit back and let them figure things out, and I'm talking academically, educational wise, any subject, something that they will figure things out. And we keep that in mind. That way we don't have to be, oh my God, my child is gonna be like absolutely dumb if he doesn't do something for a month. Oh no, trust me, no. His brain is working, and we just need to guide them.
Yeah, one of the things I remember you saying when we spoke a year ago was, I said, how do you get anything else done? Like, how are you running a business? How are you doing anything when you're homeschooling? Because to me, I was thinking about the number of hours that my children are in school.
Yes,
and so I was thinking, how do you use your whole day like that? And I remember you telling me, no, when they're in school, there's a lot of extra time that's being spent on things that, when you're homeschooling, it doesn't take you nearly as long. The school day is not from, I don't know, 8 or 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon or whatever. It depends on school to school, but it's not that many hours. Will you explain that?
Sure. So the way schools work, well, when schools first started, like 100 years ago, because we, the homeschool community, we have to read about the history of schooling, right? So when they started, even back in Europe and even here in America, they did not have the schedules that they have now. It was different. So now children have to be kept in school for longer times. Mainly, we've learned, is mainly because the parents are working. So it's like they have to be entertained. They have to be obviously well taken care of. They need to be supervised. They need to be in facilities that encourage their physical development. So they have sports, and then you have a big cafeteria where they're eating nutritional food and they're safe, right? And then you have all these different subjects and that they need to be covered, right? So they need to, start a class, finish a class, then they need the transition time to go to another class or to go to a lab and to go to theater or to go to music class. And all these things are wonderful for our children in school. However, when we are home, half of those things are not needed because we are at home. Hopefully it is a safe place, and I say hopefully, and if it is not a safe place, let's do everything we can to make it a safe place, meaning a place where they can rest, a place where they have where to go, like their own room, a clean space. So when they're at home and we think about homeschooling, it's not bringing that school to my house and saying, okay, recess right now, okay, PE, go outside and run. It's not that. It's more like this is a family. And when we bring school to home, we just need to know the parent, what is it that he needs to learn? What he really needs to learn usually can be covered in no more than 3 hours a day. That's max, like really. And I'm talking high school. I'm talking about chemistry. I'm talking about all those difficult subjects. No more than 3 hours, the most probably 4 hours. But that's if the child is really into a subject and he wants to, go further into his study. But in general, it's not that much, because in a classroom, you have the teacher, you have whatever it is, whether they do it electronically now that they have iPads in their schoolroom, but the teacher has to cover a subject, explain everything, and make sure that everybody in the whole classroom gets it.
Ask questions and
Exactly.
interruptions, and you go out, you go to the principal's office, and so there's a lot of
Exactly. So there's time, the teacher, if he were to sit with your child, he could cover it in 15 minutes, a 50-hour class could be covered in 10, 15 minutes because your child is getting it. Oh, okay, I got it, Yeah. So that's what happens when we come home. It's like and I don't know if I mentioned to you earlier, but I don't stand up and then teach she's going to high school now.
A board that you pull down with a pointer.
Yes. Yeah, I don't teach well, but I have 6 kids. 5 of them are school age, so I don't go from high school to middle school and then to elementary and then to kinder. No.
How do you do it?
Okay, so this is the secret. The hardest thing that a homeschool mom does is the hardest thing that we have to teach is teach them how to read. That's the hardest thing, okay? It's not physics, it's not chemistry, it's teach them how to read. We're talking about a 5-year-old, okay? A 4, 5, and 6-year-old, that's when they're learning how to read. Once they learn how to read, then almost basically they're on their own. So I have the subjects because you have material to cover, whether it's Zoom that the school is providing or whatever it is, the material is there. If they know how to read and if they know how to follow direction, then they're in charge of their own homeschooling. And that was one of the reasons that we, with my husband, chose homeschooling, because we figured that it would prepare them for the future. Because when you grow up and then you have jobs or you have businesses, you need to be able to be self-accountable. And we figured what a better way to start it off when they're in school. So of course I'm there checking what they're doing. When they have a question or where they get stuck, I'm there available. But these 3 hours that I'm talking about that of schooling, basically 20 minutes of them, 20 minutes I spend with my 5 and my 7-year-old, just 20 minutes with them. The rest, I do my things in the house. I pick up, I take care of the baby, I do my business. I'm just available for them. I'm not there sitting with them. You have to learn this. No, it's them, of course, but that takes conversations. Yeah. Prior conversations with them where we agree, this is your education, this is for your future, this can be very interesting if you set your mind on this. So I will be here to help you, but it's you, the one who's gonna learn. I tell my children, I already did that. I already got my A's in that subject. I don't need to learn it. It's you. So you get into it, you cover it. If you have questions, I can help you because I already did that when I was at school. So that's help. That's helped them. I know they're like, oh yeah, you're right. Because sometimes they're like, you do it for me. I'm like, oh no, I already learned it. I don't need to do it. So we try to keep the family relationship intact. I'm not the teacher. I'm the mom. I'm the mom the whole time. I'm the mom the whole time. I'm not the teacher. There's teachers, like if I need a tutor, we've hired tutors, we've hired help. And I know that the school districts are providing the teachers. So they're the teachers. I'm just the mom who's here to encourage you, who's here to make sure that whatever you're learning right now, it's what you need so that you can be successful whenever you leave home, whenever you're ready for your career.
And so do you think that it's because your children have all that's all they know, from when they started school, 4 or 5 years old, that's all they knew. So they saw their older siblings and they just saw that that's how you learn. Whereas the ones the kids are used to being at school and they're used to coming home from school, having homework, having the parents say, have you done your homework? And then they go to school and have you done this? It's almost like they aren't very some are, but a lot of them aren't self-motivated, or they really need to kick up the butt to do anything. And that's the thing, a lot of the mothers who are homeschooling now probably find it really difficult because they do need to be like overseeing everything, or they're going to be on video games, or they're going to be pretending they're doing something on their computer and they're doing something else. I mean, are your kids, I'm sure with 6 kids, they've all got different temperaments. And
oh yeah, we have all the temperaments.
Okay, so do you find, you don't have to name any names here, but do you find that a couple of your children are more kind of really do need the more of the pick up the backside to do anything, or they'll try to sneak by and not do it, or they're I don't know, just really difficult to try to get them to do their schoolwork?
Yes, absolutely. So we have all kind of personalities because with all the children we have them all. And yes, I do have a child who he can sit with a page. So he has to do the curriculum that we have. He has to do 6 pages a day, right? So he'll sit and do half a page, the 3 hours. Okay, so time is up and he's only done half a page, right? So something that we learn is motivation. Now, my oldest daughter, I don't even have to check. She's done sometimes 8 pages. She only has to do 6. She'll do more, right? That's her personality. It's not that because she's a girl. Also that helps. But the other boy, it's like, but he's smart. I'm the mom. I know he's smart. I know that it's not because he's dumb, because he'll make me think. He's a good actor. He's like, oh, but this is too difficult for me. I don't know. And I'm like, no, I see you do other things. You're smart. Okay, you can do this. So what we've done with my husband is that we kind of figured what things motivate him. And with this child, particularly this child, we use that as a leverage. Okay, so we limit video games to Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. Only Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. So when this particular kid is stuck and he's like, I don't know, I don't get it, I can't do it. And I know he can do it, right? And I've sat with him and he knows. So we just, casually say, okay, I guess that no video games for you this week. It's okay. No, it's okay. You can't do it. Then that means video games are canceled, obviously, right? Then he'll be like, oh, no, I think I may get it, So we use that as a leverage. Usually if he has an outing or if he has something that he's looking forward to, this kind of personality, because we're talking about one personality, they're all over the place, right? It's not that they're really intellectually stuck. Oh no, they're not. They're psychologically stuck, and their personality betrays them, right? So they're like, no, I'm sorry, I couldn't do it, and then the whole day passed, and then you go and check. Oh no, I didn't turn it in because, oh no, these kids are bright. So we kind of use this motivation thing to leverage, and it's worked. And it's amazing. It's like, oh, okay. So my husband, out of the blue, my husband has worked from home also. We've been doing this for a while. So my husband will come out and see that he's stuck and he's like, oh, something. And he'll offer something like, today is not a day to play video games, but I could let you play once you finish all that.
Yeah.
that boy will do in 30 minutes the 6 pages, 30
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, and we've seen that. So we're like, okay, so he's capable. So now the mom, now I know he's capable. It's okay, you know? So we kind of use it. We don't use it every day. We don't use it every day because, you know.
You don't want to turn into bribing them to do their.
No. But he knows and he likes it. So sometimes he'll be like, do you have anything special for me so I can do this? Because he can, but he's learning. He's learning. So when he's used these motivation things and he's worked, and then we tell him at the end of the day, whenever he finishes, he's like, I did it. So I can play, or I can talk with my friend, or I can Zoom with my friend. We remind him, did you see that you were able to do it? And we ask him, how do you feel now? And he usually tells us, you know, we try to make him say it. Yes. I feel good. Are you proud of yourself? Yes. Are you confident now? Yes. Let's keep that feeling. Let's keep that feeling, and we can do it again tomorrow. And, you know, we're building character here, not just him finishing the pages. It's character, because it's my child, you know, one day he'll be an adult, and we need that character there.
Yeah, and I love too how you're not just like breeding them to be like people pleasers. You know, they're not just doing it just to make you happy, you know, just to get you off their back. Because you're right. Then once they go off into the world, they suddenly don't have you there, you know, to for the affirmation and all of that. So they have to.
We remind them they're doing it for them. Yeah, we remind them it's you're taking this. Like I tell them, you know, I don't need your math skills when you're an adult. I don't need them. So it's not, you're not learning it for me because I have them. You need them for you. Those math skills, those language arts skills, you're going to need them when you don't have me, when you don't have a teacher. You're going to need them. So learn them right now.
Well, that actually leads me to, I have number dyscalculia, so it's like dyslexia, but with numbers. And so I've just never been able to help my children with anything to do with numbers. So I've often told myself I could never homeschool because I would never be able to even begin to help them with the arithmetic, you know, the math.
Sure.
And so what does a homeschooling mother do if they've got a real weakness in a subject, or when they're older and they start doing things like physics and chemistry and that's not your thing at all?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So definitely there's help. There's help out there that we can get. Like, it's not just me, really. It takes a village, really. So there's many things that are very basic that I don't need to be a pro. I just need to help them follow directions, right? I don't need to understand how to do the whole chemistry problem, but I can help them. Like, did you read this part? Did you understand this? Yes, no. Oh, okay, so go back, right? So then you are able to do the problem, because I already forgot how to do chemistry. That's not my thing. That's not what I do now. I did it and I got my grades back then. I passed the class, but I haven't done it in years, right? So I just come and then I enlist help. And this doesn't have to be costly. This doesn't have to mean that you need to have an extra budget, because it's not cheap. Now, if you have a gifted child who needs help in a specific area, because most likely he will be a scientist, right? Or because he will be an amazing engineer, then we would definitely consider putting our money there because it's for his future. However, if it's difficult subjects, you can enlist help from friends and from family. I have brothers and sisters, and I know their strengths. And then I have musicians in my family. I have teachers in my family. I have artists in my family. So, and this is just my family. Then we have our friends, right? You know, the engineers, the architects. When I was a child, I was homeschooled, right? So for us to decide to homeschool, so I was homeschooled, but not just for elementary. I went to a high school. So when I went to, my mom used to tell me, I'm not good with math. I'm not good with math. That was my mom. I passed all my math courses. My mom went to school. She's American here in Texas. So she's like, I don't know how I finished, but I don't know. So as a child, I grew up listening to her. I'm not good in math. So I assumed, well, math is just for the smart people, because if my mom, who's amazing, she's not good with math, then it's only for very peculiar, like very nerd and like geek people. That's what I thought up until I was 13 years old. So when I'm 13, I go to middle school, and I'm like, okay, I'm a little behind in my math, just a little behind, but I'm thinking, well, it's because not everybody's good in math, right? My parents were here in America because I grew up in Honduras in Central America. So I had to school was starting. So I had to go back to school. So I was living with a family of friends, and they had hired a tutor for their children. This tutor, she was a friend of ours also. She was an architect. So she's there at home tutoring this family. So I asked the parents, can I ask her a few questions? She's like, of course, I'm paying her, of course, yes. So I'm like, okay. So I come with my school book, and I'm like, I was starting algebra, and I'm like, why are there letters in math? I don't get it. I've only done numbers. Why are there letters? And she's like, oh, that's so easy. I won't forget that. She's the architect, and she's saying, oh, that's so easy. What I had been hearing all my life was math is hard. So I'm thinking math is hard, and that's why I can't figure this out. Mm-hmm. So when I come to this lady who's an architect who works with numbers, and numbers is her life, she's like, oh, that's so easy. And she's also said, that is so much fun. So now I'm like, oh, that's easy and fun. And I kid you not, I spent about 30 minutes with her. 30 minutes of my life. Yeah. That's all I spent in my entire life. 30 minutes with a tutor who told me it was easy and fun. And that unlocked something in me. And by the end of high school, I was tutoring other students that were in lower grades than I was, because I was great with geometry. I was great with algebra, it's super easy. And I was great with physics and statistics. I actually took statistics in high school because I advanced all my maths. And now I'm in business. I just figure numbers, right? But I didn't become an engineer or an architect or any of that. So I'm saying that I'm not brilliant in math, but it just took our language. So as a parent, we need to make sure, if I'm not good in something, make sure that I know it, but that I don't over communicate it to my child. Yeah. And communicate to my child, okay, maybe I cannot do this, but let's ask your cousin or your uncle or my friend or the neighbor, and they will help you. And again, I just want to mention, it just takes unlocking of things. Yes. It's not that this person has to be 2 or 3 school years with your child, helping them. That's enabling them. And we don't believe in enabling in homeschool. It's no, I need to help you figure it out. And if I can help you, I'll get somebody.
Just the unlocking. I was always really, really careful when my kids were little to never mention about the math thing with the numbers.
Yes. And even though it was real for you.
I helped them as much as I could, got my husband to help when he could, but I never wanted it to come out of my mouth, I'm bad at numbers, because I knew I didn't want them to think, oh, maybe I inherit that too, or, exactly what you said. So I was so careful never to say that, even though the numbers were going back to front and it wasn't making any sense. I didn't want them to know that. I didn't want them to know that. Do your kids get along with each other?
They do. They do, but that has to do, they have different personalities. Mm-hmm. And well, imagine, I have 5 boys. So the 4 boys, well, the baby, but the 4 boys, they're wrestling the whole time. They communicate with punches. They communicate, but I do want to mention this, that as a family, we decided that unity was going to be harmony and unity was going to be a family value. Yeah. So we say it, we live it, we try to live it with my husband, and then we expect it, and we expect nothing else. Yes, they can fight because it's normal. Yes, they can have their disagreements because we all do. Mm-hmm. So what we do, I try to become a coach with them, where they're fighting. I don't just come and punish them and go there and don't, no. Yes, I know that will help me for the moment, but I just try to come in and take a minute and say, okay, who has a problem? You, okay, what's a problem? And then help them figure it out. So as I coach them, they have learned to figure their problems out. Now they still need me because they're children, right? But generally speaking, they know that we promote unity and harmony here, and respect. I want to mention that respect. Mm-hmm. Usually the problem is when we disrespect each other, when we call names, when we make fun of the other, or when we are just completely mean with somebody else. That is not accepted here. It happens. Yes, it happens. But trust me, there's consequences. Yeah. There's consequences, and they know that it's not fun. So now, because we've been promoting this for years, we're on the other side. They do get along. I don't want to say, oh, it just happened. Oh, no, it was a lot of hard work, a lot of intention, but it's so good when you're on the other side.
I love that. I think, I mean, for some parents who might be watching this and thinking, oh my gosh, my kids are older and we never established that. But if you've got younger
It's never
children,
late.
I
And it's
just,
never late, even with the
it's
older
so
ones. It's never too late.
Yeah, I agree. I am still so grateful that I did when my kids were 6 and 3. They were fighting incessantly. It was just an absolute nightmare. I was pulling my hair out. I was shouting at the time. I didn't like who I'd
Yeah.
morphed into.
Yes.
This wasn't the mother I wanted to be. And I'm so grateful that I did some parenting skills classes. I did a 10-week
Yes.
course with the parent practice here in the UK, and I learned how to have more sibling harmony, how to be, what to do when the kids push my buttons,
Yes.
and just so much about communication and family values and what are the values that I want to instill. All of that from a reasonably young age, from 3 and 6. It wasn't good the first beginning, but fortunately we turned things around. And one of the rules that we made. Well, I made the rule that you can never say hate. Like, hate was just not said in our house. I never liked the idea of a kid going, I hate you, either to their
Yes.
parents or to each other. Like, I just, ooh. So from a very young age, I said that, like, hate, I made it seem like hate was a swear word. Like, you wouldn't
Yeah.
even say more than you
Yes.
would say the S word or the F word.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, yeah, that was something, and they really don't say hate. They just don't, it's not in their vocabulary even now, and they're 20 and almost 18 now. And the other thing too is, I never, they could, if they were getting angry at each other, they, like you said, they couldn't say hurtful, mean things. I mean, of course they would slip out and everything, but that was not tolerated. It was not tolerated to speak to each other in a really unkind way. It just wasn't. And it was like it was just, no, that does not happen. And so, yeah, that's another thing too, is just trying to instill those family values and leading by example. And gosh, I just know that sometimes, well, what about self-care? I mean, what about for yourself, self-care? Because I think one of the things I found until I created my own Project Me was that I needed to just have more time for myself and having more self-care, and then I could be a better person when I was looking after myself. And I've spoken to some of the women now during lockdown who are just, they're finding, I think that maybe they're homeschooling too many hours a day. I'm not sure. So this is going to be interesting. They get this curriculum that is sent from the school,
Yes.
and they're just like, oh my God, they've got to get through all this. And I almost wonder if they're, and I don't know because my kids are older and I'm not doing the homeschooling thing. But I,
Just
but
in time.
but I think that they are not finding any time for themselves. It's like, it's relentless. It is just, that's what some of the women have
Yes.
actually said. It is relentless. It is just all the schoolwork and then all the housework and everything else that needs doing. And some of them are working as well. And they said they are just falling into bed exhausted with nothing to give. And you can imagine that when you're running on empty that low, that you are going to be like a short fuse.
Yeah.
You're not going to be your best self. You're probably not going to be able to pull the parenting strategies out, and maybe they're even trying to be the teacher. Maybe they're trying to be the teacher. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here about what might be going on in their scenarios. Yeah.
Yes. We as moms, we're always afraid of failing our children, right? From the minute they're born, we cannot sleep sometimes just to make sure that the newborn is breathing, because because we don't want to fail them. And that's something that it's just runs through our veins as moms, right? We don't want to fail them. So now that school is our responsibility, we don't want to fail them, and that's a good thing. However, remember that our brains are designed to survive, right? To protect us. So maybe our brains have gone there. Like, let me make sure, that as my mom brain, it's like protecting. He needs to do this. He needs to do that. They need to do this. This needs to be turned in. And then it consumes most of our time. And if my brain is operating on survival mode, then it's draining way too much energy from me. And yes, maybe I fed everybody. Maybe we did turn everything before midnight, but then where's my life? And then if we think, okay, is this going to be for a long haul? Then it's not happy. I'm not happy. And when mom is not happy at home, then where's the hope for the family, really? If mom is not happy, well, my husband is not going to like me. And my children, they're going to be, I cannot wait to get out of here. And who is this monster that I come home to, Like, we were happy moms, or hopefully we were better, nicer moms when they would just come home from school. But now it's like, this is who you really were. And no, this is not who we really were. It's just that this is a crisis. So I have two recommendations that I like to give to the women, the moms that I coach. Two things. One is, you need personal time. Even if you're in the middle of everything, just stop. Just like the whole world stopped. And hey, some things have happened, economy has come down, but we still breathing, we still have a shelter, we're still eating, okay? So we thought, or we may think it's the end of the world. It's not, and these things have happened in the past history. We know we will get through it. We know it. So personally speaking, just stop. They have homework, things need to be, just stop, notify the family, tell whomever needs to know, the husband, the kids, whomever is around, I need to take this half a day for myself. And then seclude yourself to one room of the house. Make sure you have plenty of water to hydrate yourself, and snacks or food. And then go and be by yourself with a notebook, with your journal. And I call it brain dump, and just put your brain into the pages. What is it? What is everything that I have to do here? Is it the laundry? Is it the cleaning of the house? Is it the food? Is it the kids? Is it their fighting? So once I start writing everything, is it their homework? Is it one teacher that I don't like who's being too demanding? What is it? And just write everything there, because when we see it in paper, our eyes help us organize it better. When our eyes don't see it and it's in our brain, it's exhausting. We hit the bed, we're done, and before we know it, we have to wake up again. We didn't even have sweet dreams. So take half a day to put it down. Once you have it written down, you're gonna see, I promise, I guarantee, you're gonna see that it's not that bad. You're gonna see that, oh, maybe they need to get up a little bit later. Maybe they need to get up a little bit earlier. Oh, the problem is the meals. Oh, what can I do? You know something? We're every Friday for lunch, we just buy from outside. Since COVID started, it's been 4 months straight. Every Friday, I'm like, okay, I'm done with my kitchen, and we're buying out. So it's become a family thing, and we all look forward to it. The kitchen is clean the whole day. So what things can I do? Very little things that make a big difference. So that's one thing that I recommend. Yeah. The personal time. Moms, and let everybody know that they need to respect it. Tell them that all their livelihood is, hanging there. So take that time, put it into writing, and you will see how your own eyes and your own brain will give you the solutions. Yeah. And then the second step, once you come up with a plan or solutions, have a family committee meeting. Yeah. Sit down with your husband if you can, even if he's working out or even if he's not around, he needs to be aware of this. Sit down with them, even if they're, well, not if they're tiny little kids, toddlers, obviously, but we're not talking about toddlers. We're talking school-age children. So sit down with them, whether they're 6 years old or 16 years old, and discuss it. As a mom, I want to know what's going on with you guys. When all this started, because we stopped going out and things changed for us. So we sat down, okay, what do we want to do? We want to continue getting the sunshine, even though we cannot go out. So we make it a point to go every day outside and do some outside activity. Mm-hmm. So we put it into a little schedule. What else do we want to do? Okay, so now we have more reading time. How do we schedule it in? We make sure it happens for the kids. I'm talking to kids, right? Okay, so hey, this would be a great time to learn another language. Where can we plug it in, So, and they told us what they wanted. So we listened to them. What do you guys want? What do you prefer? And then what needs to happen? So I bring what needs to happen. They bring in what they want to happen. And then together we come up with a plan. When they participate, they become owners of this plan. And now you are not here, the boss mom or the teacher boss, worse, trying to impose things. No, when it's their plan, we're just here alongside them to encourage them. Hey, it's time to do this. Or, hey, did you finish that? Did you figure that out? Did you learn this? Do we need to call somebody else to help you? Now we're just here to help them with their plan, because the plan was theirs. So those are two things that I would do. It takes time. I'm not saying that it's nice, all beautiful. It takes time and it takes tweaking. My plan that I did, I need to tweak things. But we discussed with the family, some things didn't work out. And then we're like, okay, no, that didn't work out. Scratch that.
Mhm.
But it's worth it. It gives us that peace of mind that we've lost. It gives us back. And we're like, oh, okay, so it's me. I'm human. I'm a woman. And it's okay now, right? So it will give us a better outlook for the next coming weeks or months.
I will 100% agree with both of those points. For me, brain dumps are, I don't know what I would do if it wasn't for my journal on a pen, the nearest piece of paper if necessary. I just have to get things out of my head and onto paper. And once they're there, as you said, I can see it in black and white. And I just have more of an objective view, and if I'm feeling like my head's going to explode because there's too much going on, I just have a brain dump, put everything into the magic matrix, the Project Me magic matrix, which is urgent and important.
So helpful, yes.
Important, that can wait, that can be delegated. And once you just get it out of your head and you put it into one of these 4 quadrants, you're like, oh, okay, well, I only have to look at that one box now of things as opposed to all of this, and I can get some help with that. And there's another box for things that just felt big in your head, but as soon as you wrote them down,
they're not
like,
real.
That can wait, or maybe not at all. And then the other thing you said about family meetings, I'm a big fan of family meetings. And I always say, it's not like imagine if you were working in a corporate environment and your boss said, okay, everybody come in for a meeting. And he just stood there at the front and told everybody, you're going to be working on this project. You're going to be doing that. And everyone would just sit there. How motivated would the team be if they just got told exactly what they have to do? And then they just have to they'd all think he's a jerk. Right, or worse. He's got kids around, like he's or she, if it was a female boss. And so when we have these family meetings, it isn't like, right, everybody sit down, we're having a family meeting from now on. Everyone's got to pitch in with chores more. I'm tired of being the family slave. From now on, you're taking out the rubbish or whatever. It isn't like that.
No, it doesn't work. Yeah.
You sit down, you say, the reason why I called this family meeting is because I'm feeling like I'm spending too much time nagging all the time. I don't like the sound of my own voice. I don't want to shout at you guys. I'm just feeling like I really, really need some help. I'm just talking in specific if you're having a meeting about chores, for example, and then just get some paper out and just talk it through. And you're amazed sometimes at the kids, the chores they are happy to do, that you're like, really? Yeah. Who wants to do what? It's like, oh, I want to be in charge of that. You're going, really? Okay, that's it, and when you just communicate your needs, and especially when you get behind your why, which is I want to be my best self, and I don't feel like I'm being my best self, and then suddenly they're seeing you as human, and that
they have compassion in them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've found that family meetings have really, really been great for us. Yeah, when I don't come at it from the whole family meeting because we gotta, that whole kind of, then that's not the right approach. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about screen time and, device use and everything, because that's another thing that, all parents were struggling with it even before lockdown. And now with this, because they're not getting to go and do a lot of the activities that they used to do and seeing their friends and all of that, it just feels like they're just on their devices all the time. But when they're on the device, it's giving the mothers a chance to maybe get something done. And and then they're feeling really guilty. I think in the beginning, when you thought it was only going to last for maybe a few weeks or something, you kind of thought, oh, that's just
it was okay.
Now,
yes.
With the summer coming up, and it's going to be beyond that, people are like, what about the devices? I don't know what to do. Do you have any advice?
Absolutely, yes. So I've read a lot about what it does to our brains as adults, and not to mention children, right? So there is such thing as an addiction to our device, as in like my brain is missing something, and it happens to me.
Yeah, it's a dopamine hit, isn't it? Don't we get like a dopamine hit?
It is a dopamine hit.
Like social media, we have to see how many people have liked that post, or we have to, that kind of.
Exactly. So as adults, we didn't have it when we were teenagers. So we've developed it as adults. Our brains are more mature. Now, it can go to extremes if we're not careful, and I'm talking adults. But now let's move to our children, to our teenagers, to our preteens, and to our children. Their brains are not mature yet, and it can create damage. damage. Now, I'm all for them having entertainment. I'm all for them connecting with other people, right? And, or even, you know, getting educational things that they do get. But the brain damage, it's what I'm concerned as a mom, because there's nothing that, well, we don't know, but the repair will be too costly if it's possible when they're adults, right? So we've had these conversations with them, and we tell them, right now, you don't have the power to control yourself. We know it. And then they've agreed, you know, we come to that agreement. You don't have the power. We have the power. So as parents, we will leverage things. So these are the rules that we've decided. So our 14-year-old can get her mobile. She has a phone. It's off during the morning, during the night, but she can get it after lunch.
Okay.
She has a list of activities that she'll do right now in the summer that she can do, that will keep her entertained, that will get things that she likes, you know, all these things, a few chores, but all the things are of her choosing, of things that she can do. She can get it.
Examples, like what does she like to do?
Well, she loves reading. She loves reading. She loves baking. She has a bakery, and her business is going off the roof. So now she's running off from, she needs to bake and freeze some things. And so right now that is keeping her very busy.
Entrepreneur like her mother.
Yes. And so that's very particular with her, but she has another list of things that she'll do, you know, like learning languages that doesn't require, she can use a computer, a family computer, you know, and the reading, they do some drawings, but with books, not with online, you know, but books that we have, just activities, helping with the little ones, just different things that interest her. She has a list, you know, watercoloring, some embroidery, some things that she'll do with her hands. We encourage that. Use your hands because it helps the brain, right? So she'll get it from after lunch, and then she'll turn it off and turn it in at 9 o'clock. So she has it all those hours to her discretion. We also have rules if we're watching TV or anybody's watching TV, you cannot have the device with you. We tell them either you're here or you're there, okay? So and we're telling them it's manners. It's just manners, and we call it TV manners. So TV manners is we're not talking to each other while we're watching TV, and devices are off. Because we need to,
times, obviously. I mean, I say obviously because to me it feels so obvious that you would not have, no one in the family would have a device on the table or near them when you're having a meal. But in other families they haven't put down that rule.
When we don't think about it, we'll do it. If we don't set rules, everybody will be eating and everybody there like this. If we don't set the rules.
Back when we could go to restaurants, but when people are in restaurants and everybody, the whole family are waiting for their food and everybody's on their devices, and I look at them all and I'm like, gosh, we have games we play, like, you know, we have to think about, you know, top celebrities, and we have to do this whole, or name London tube stations that begin with whatever we do, or geography, and we sit around the table and do these kind of like just, you know, those kind of games and stuff, but we're all talking.
Those family connections during the meal do way, way more for their souls and their brains that anybody can ever account for. And what this does to the brain, it's so much more, it takes away from that. Like it's like a thief, you know, that comes to take something very valuable that you're never gonna get back. I mean, you can do things later, but then the recovery, it's so hard. So the device, so she has those rules, my 14-year-old. My 12-year-old is the other one that has a device. He gets it at 2. He gets it later from 2, and then he turns it in at 7. He has it for less time.
Okay.
So again, he's
age increments.
It's the age. Yes. And then the little boys that have tablets, and they can only use it until after 4 o'clock. Okay. Now, this includes TV time earlier for them, but we only have one TV. It's not that they can watch it. No. They all have to agree on what they're watching, whether it's the little kids or the big kids or everybody. So they need to agree, and this is part of their learning, to agree to, you know, give space for other people. But the screens, we encourage them, but they're very limited. Because, and the main reason, there's many reasons, but the main reason is the brain damage. You know, I tell them, I don't have the money to pay for surgeons. Like, I joke, obviously, I exaggerate, when you're an adult, to repair all what this can do. But so we take it lightly. We don't want to be like the mean parent or the parent who
Well, I
doesn't
was going to say,
understand.
what do you do if they say that their friends are all playing this game? I mean, we all know the game, like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
game that everyone's kind of addicted to. And it's like,
yes.
if their friends are doing that and then they're saying, well, they're all doing that, you know, how do you deal with that whole, I always stuck with, that's their family and their values, but in our family we don't do that. And I explained my reasons why. I was really anti video games. We never owned like a console, like a Xbox or anything like that. And there were times they said at school they're all talking about this games and everything, and I don't have it. And I just had to say, I'm really sorry, it's just how I feel. I want to play board games, I want card games, I want talking. And I just, when I see kids that are just in front of a game doing this or doing this, I just don't like it. And I had to just, I'm really sorry. And they accepted it. And they, you know, they just accepted it. And even now they will say, like my son's at university now and he's, you know, moved in, he's got roommates and everything. It's like some of the guys are just totally into like gaming, and he looks at it and he just feels quite above it, really. He just feels really like, wow, I do so much more interesting things with my time than that. And so you can feel like you're being mean, you can feel like you're maybe depriving them of social, you know, whatever, but my kids have come out like really, really great. If I can, you know, someone on the other side who's got older ones, and they don't have games addictions, you know. So
That's great that you mentioned that. Yeah, that's great that you mentioned that about your son, because like we're there, like I'm here behind with my little kids and we go through the same thing, right? So all their friends are talking about this and doing that. They have very limited, we inherited a console like last year or so from my brother-in-law. So I'm like, okay,
you're like,
geez, you know, yeah. I'm like, okay. But so we told our children, okay, so we're gonna see how good stewards we are of this. And I'm not talking about the physical thing. I'm talking about the control of the addiction. If this gets out of control, we shut it down. And we've had those seasons where my husband is like, I don't want to hear that word again, the game, the name of the game. So, and actually they just finished the fasting. I think it was a 2-month fasting that my husband imposed because he didn't want to hear one thing about it. So he's like, nobody talks about it, nobody plays it until I say so. And it lasted for 2 months.
2 months. And how were they during those 2 months? Were they in the beginning like you're mean and, you know, were they?
Well, my husband was very clear in telling them, you got this, you got this for yourself. You only talked about it, you fought about it, that's all you want to think about. You want to think about buying this and getting that, and it's all like you don't even have the money, but you're thinking about, I need this, I need this, I need this, and my friend has this, and everything was that. You became, my husband used the word obsessed. So my husband told them, like, I don't want kids that are obsessed. I want kids that enjoy their games, but they're not obsessed. So he had to take them that privilege. We tell them, this is a privilege. Playing these little things, it's a privilege, okay? So you need to be very careful. If we see that it's out of hand, it means that you're not ready to handle it. So we take it away. So we took it away for, I think it was actually 3 months, I think. I don't know. Well, let me tell you that they survived. They managed to find other things to do. They've been creative. Actually, 2 of my boys, the boys that play, they become very, very good in the piano, like very good on their own. We don't pay classes or anything right now, but they just on their own. I remind them that whenever they play any musical instrument or when they play music, I remind them that their brain lights up. So I tell them, if you're doing something hard in school, go play something in music so that your brain turns on, and then go back and try again. So they've survived. But when you were asking, you know, what do we do? Well, we tell our children, you know, what do we do with other families and their friends? You know, we tell them, like you said, they have different values, and we tell them, I don't know what the values of that family is. I haven't asked. I don't know what those values are. So whenever I get to have a conversation, I'll ask them, but we haven't had the conversation, and I don't plan on having the conversation. However, we know our values, and this is what we want. And instead of focusing on that you can't, we focus on what they can. Listen, you can learn another language. We love to travel here. I know you travel a lot, but we like to travel. So we're thinking about going to different countries, and we're like, we need to practice that language, you know, we need to, so we get them excited about things that they want. They like to travel too. My kids love to, whether it's road trips or going overseas, they love to travel. So we keep the focus on that. And we tell them, I don't know what that family is doing, but I know what we know what we want to do. We want to travel. We need to learn. We need to learn languages. We need to learn cultures. We need to learn about other things, you know, also, you know, music and acting and baking, things that they like. So I tell my daughter, for a while, she was getting into things, and I'm like, you know, in her device. But now we've tried to get her motivation, what she likes, and move it towards what, you know, hey, you can learn better baking skills. And she's done that. And she's done that. And now we see she is very happy with her business. And that's what we want to instill in every one of our children. When you can find something that you can do and learn very well that can impact others, you're going to be happy. Trust me, the video game does not make you happy. It does not. You think it does. And yes, there's some dopamine that goes on with the connection with other people, and you know, but that's we tell them, they don't know this, but we tell them it's temporary. It has a super high peak and then it falls down. And so what we've done is that we let them play, and at the end of 2 hours of playing, they're done. They're grouchy, they're fighting, they're angry, and they can't even stand themselves.
Yeah.
So we stop and we're like, oh, look at you. So we frame them, right? And we're like, do you like this? And did you just realize what you were doing for the last 2 hours? It's not worth it. So now they play for shorter periods of time, only 3 times a week. And they cannot play in any game. There are very specific games that they're allowed to play, like soccer and basketball that we in Minecraft that we promote. But then other than that, we try to veer them to something else that they like. And then at the end of whatever that is, they feel good and happy and proud. We have artists here, we have musicians, we have bakers. So whenever they're done, they're so elated. And then we remind them at that moment. We just don't let it go by. We stop and say, how do you feel? Like, wow, you know, I feel excited. Look what you were doing for the last hour or two. And we want you to be happy as a human being. We want you to create that. And we remind them, video games doesn't give you that. Now we'll be nice and we'll let them play for a little bit, but it doesn't give you a lasting sensation. And like you said, your son, you know, in college, he's thinking about other things, and then the other kids are not. Yeah. Okay. So we tell them, this is what's going to happen in the future. We tell them, you will have a lot of skills if you try different things. Yeah. But the skill, and they say, oh, but I want to become a gamer, and they make money, and like, awesome. That's great. That's awesome. And you know something, when you're an adult, you can choose if that's what you want to do for your life. But until then, you have to do what we say. So when you do, we tell them, you really want to be a gamer, you want to be a coder, you want to be all that, wonderful. When you get to be an adult, you'll get to choose if that's what career that you want. Yeah. But we're not there yet.
No, I feel like this conversation will especially help those who've got younger children and they haven't really thought about this kind of stuff yet, because you just kind of falling into it, and the games having about, well, what are they doing? Oh, everyone's playing the games, and you can kind of go along with it because you think that your kid's going to be the only one who's not. They're going to be socially isolated and all of that. So I'm just here to tell you that that hasn't been the case with mine. But I do recognize that some women watching this will have older children, and at this point, it's really, really difficult to say you have to stop playing these games. I mean, you know, because it truly is an addiction, like you said. And so, yeah, I don't even know what the answer is. I know there's.
Well, I would like to throw in something there that I learned from one of the coaches that I had. I learned it from her, and I've been able to share this with other families. And I think we've done it ourselves for sure. Is what do you do when you have older kids? And it's not only the gaming, right? It's also the what we were talking, school, right? So we've demanded all these things from them, and all of a sudden they're older, and we're like, well, I shouldn't have done that. Or you were mentioning the values, so you instill values when your children were very little, so as they've grown, they've just become that value, right? So what happens if we didn't do that, and now I have teenagers? Yeah. So this is what I learned from a family. They're coaches, and they're a wonderful family. They have grown children. And she's the coach, but she works with her husband. And I heard the father say, he answered, somebody was asking this question, and the father answered. And it just stuck with me. And this was years ago, so I've been able to use it with my kids. He says, whenever we see that we failed at something, like, oh, I should have instilled this value. Oh, I shouldn't allow these devices when we're eating or when at a restaurant. And I see how, that this is not the best for our family. When I, as a parent, realize it, number one, acknowledge it. It was wrong. I didn't know any better. Obviously, had I known, obviously, but I didn't know any better. Now I know. And then the third thing to do is to go to the children and apologize to them. I didn't know this. And now I know that it's not the best. And apology, and it's a sincere apology. It's not a manipulation thing. It's not a bribing thing. It's like, I am sorry. I didn't know this, and it happens with other things. Like, there's an event in town and we missed it and we're like, oh guys, sorry, I didn't know. It's the same apology. I just realized, or I just watched a video and two ladies were talking about, and they made me see, that this is really not best for you. Or I'm sorry that I've always wanted unity in this family and respect, but I've never talked about it. I've never taught it. I am sorry. And then, because we're talking to grown children, right? Or older children. Number one, I'm sorry. And then I want to make changes. Can you help me? Mm-hmm. And then leave it at that. I mean, like I said, they're very compassionate, At first, they may, if it's the video gaming thing, like, no, you're not taking it away. No, I'm not taking it away. But I realized that these hurt your brain, your future. What can we do about it? I'm sorry that I didn't set stricter limits. I'm sorry, but what can we do now? I want to help you. I don't want to be responsible for problems later in your life. I tell them, joking again, but this is when the mood is light. I tell them, I don't want to be paying for your therapy later. Let's fix it right now,
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Really, really great advice. Love that. I'm definitely going to write that down. Yeah, well, we probably should wrap it up. My gosh, I could talk to you. I think we've been, I don't even know how long, because I didn't pay attention to the time we started. I'm seeing if I've got any other, of course, I could talk to you about so many more things I've got written down here. I wanted to ask if you ever took any parenting skills classes, or if you're just a complete natural.
Well, my parents used to teach parenting courses. So I was a little kid and my parents taught it, and we were the guinea pigs, right? A lot of the material my father got from Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits, right? So I grew up with those 7 habits. Like, I had to read the book in college like twice.
I bought that for my son when he was turned maybe 16, the 7 Habits for Successful Teenagers.
Oh, I love that book. I love it. I've had my kids read that one, they read it so many times. So when I went to college and I had to read the book, I'm like, why do I know all this? Why is this so easy? And then I'm like, of course, my dad, he taught it. He implemented it at home. Yes. Okay. So now I just read books. I read your book that I love. I do your methods. So I try to enhance what I've learned. But yeah, I didn't take a specific class. Yeah. But actually now we do coaching with my husband and we help other parents. So we're putting together our things.
And if there's any parents watching this that just feel like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like, take a class. Like, those online classes. I love the Parent Practice. It's an online class. Do you have one that you recommend, or you're saying that you and your husband, do you have one, like an online one?
We do. Yeah, we do it for the Hispanic community. We do coaching. We do this. We train them from zero to, to where the parents are comfortable and happy. Not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, but where they're comfortable with disagreements, where they're comfortable with difficult things happening in the family. So we walk them through that, but it's for the Hispanic community. It's in Spanish.
Yeah, brilliant. What's the website? So if anyone is Spanish speaking, that they could find it.
Sure. It's mujerradiante.com, which is radiant woman in English, mujerradiante.com. That's
beautiful.
Where they find.
Love it. And I really recommend parenting skills classes for anybody. I just think that it's just the best investment you can ever make in your parenting and in your relationship with your children and in their future and everything. It's just the best money I probably ever spent was on
Yes.
the 10-week parenting skills classes that I did
Yes.
back in, I don't even know what year it was, 2005 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
a long time ago, but it just paid for itself over and over and over
Oh,
again.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the best investment. It's like it's your family is priceless, so you can't even put a price to it. So whatever investment it is so worth it. It makes a difference completely in your life and in every member of the family.
Yeah,
And
and
they're
no one's
priceless
telling
to
you
us.
exactly what you have to do either. That's what I love about it. You're learning skills, but you're applying them because you think,
Skills.
oh, I know, but maybe I don't want to do it that way.
Yes.
It's getting to know your family,
It's
your
the
own.
principles. Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. And I love following you on Instagram because I love seeing your family of six. Well, when we're
Yeah.
talking about you've got six kids, you've got a family of eight.
We're eight, the whole family. Yeah.
And I love your Instagram. Will you tell everybody what your Instagram handle is?
Karisa Rivera. Karisa Rivera.
Yeah,
So that's my
I'll put that
Karisa
in the
Rivera.
notes afterwards
Yes.
too, so people can find it. You've got such a beautiful family and such
Thank you so
amazing
much.
energy, and your kids are so lucky to have you as a mother.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, thanks for having this conversation. I hope that it helps some women. There's so many juicy things in there that I think there'll be something that somebody will pick up and think,
Yes.
yeah. So,
Yes. Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you
That's my
so
hope. Yes. Thank you for this space and thank you for creating this. You are of great help to so many mothers, especially during this time. Like you have so many resources. I love going back and just getting so much from you. So thank you also for making yourself available and being light in this path.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Bye bye.
Have a nice day.
Hang on.